So, Michael, finally we have the endpoint of the Will Smith Chris Rock saga, the slap saga. It has finally come to an end because Will Smith has finally been given his punishment, which is, of course, a 10-year ban from the Academy Awards. A 10-year ban from the Academy Awards. You know what? He's the luckiest man in America. How about that? Because he doesn't have to go to that award show.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah,
3.5 hours of just the most boring shit, with comedians who some of them are funny, and well, they're funny, but they also make jokes about your bald wife. And other comedians aren't funny and are just very cringe. Is the word. But you know, I think obviously, you know, he won't miss being there. He would, but. You know, does the punishment actually fit the crime, Michael, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that Chris Rock said he wasn't going to press charges, and to be honest, you know, I don't know, yeah, he's just trying to be cool, Chris Rock. I think, like, I think it was an appropriate thing to do, you know, and it also, let's be honest, Chris Rock didn't really look like that slap hurt him. You know, everyone's saying, like, it's an assault, but it's not like he
Well, sorry, you think it
him.
Was an appropriate thing to do?
No, I'm saying that banning him from the Oscars, I think, is, you know, basically an appropriate punishment.
For 10 years?
Well, like, I mean, the thing is, you know, at the end of the day, 10 years, lifetime, doesn't really matter. I don't really care about the time. I just feel like seeing as he was... I mean, the thing they should have done is kick him out of the Oscars at the time. But
yeah. I mean, no, but I wanted to see his speech, so they shouldn't have done that. But they should have... Right. Okay, ban him for a year. Okay, you have to do something, I get it, because you don't want to look like, you know, you're a circus, even though that's what you should want to look like, but whatever. Like, ban him for a year, that's fine. And then, you know, in 2 years' time, people will have moved on. And you know what? He's probably not going to get nominated for a Best Actor anyway, because he's Will Smith. And he only got nominated for this one because he'd been in Hollywood for 30 years, and this was his, like, shining moment. And this was the one time he's going to get it. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's glad to see how racist you are, Michael. I'm very glad to see that.
I'm sorry.
Banning a black guy for just a simple slap for 10 years, yet you consistently defend Roman Polanski's right to return to Hollywood and make movies, even though, of course, he's a paedophile. So it's nice to see you've got some interesting morals there, Michael.
Well, I think that you've got to bear in mind, I also said that Roman Polanski should be forced to sit through an Amy Schumer stand-up routine.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, what's what I say? Yeah. Prison, all that. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches, and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are celebrating the release of the Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, which is part 3 of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, by looking at Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about The Crimes of Grindelwald?
Sure thing, Michael. So, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is a 2018 fantasy film directed by David Yates and written by J.K. Rowling. It is the sequel, like you said, to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which came out, of course, in 2016. And it is the second installment in the Fantastic Beasts film series and the 10th overall in the Wizarding World franchise. So yeah, you know how many we've got of these, Michael?
5?
Yes, and so the Secrets of Dumbledore were over the hill.
Yes.
Only 2 more after this. But anyway, so... and you know, the middle part of the franchise is meant to be the darkest part, apparently. So if that movie, Secrets of Dumbledore, is darker than Crimes of Grindelwald, then Jesus.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. Anyway, so the movie was directed by David Yates, written by J.K. Rowling, like I said, based on the characters by J.K. Rowling. I mean, don't really know why that was needed, because of course I guess actually there are some, obviously Dumbledore was in the books originally, so yeah,
you could do that for a lot though. You could be like I would imagine lots of things written by people are based on characters by those people.
yes exactly, that's what I said. But yeah, obviously, you know, there are some characters in her books that return to in this movie because,
there are some. That's definitely true.
And for maybe not. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into why they're there. Anyway, so this movie, of course, stars Eddie Redmayne. He reprises his role, and a bunch of people do, but yeah, him especially, I guess. Catherine Waterston, Dan Fogler, Alison Sudol. This is a really weird name. Yeah, Alison Sudol. She plays Queenie, by the way. That's
okay.
Ezra Miller. who has had an interesting couple of weeks. Zoe Kravitz, who also has had an interesting couple of weeks. Callum Turner, who I think has had a okay couple of weeks. Haven't heard anything about him. Claudia Kim, William Nadilam, that's French, so probably pronounced that wrong.
Probably doesn't count.
Kevin Guthrie, and Jude Law and Johnny Depp. Johnny fucking Depp. He is not in the next one.
Yeah.
He's been replaced by Mads Mikkelsen, I believe. Mads Mikkelsen, yeah. So
which is, I have to say, like, isn't that weird though? Because okay, like, here's the thing. I thought that like when this film came out, like the consensus was pretty much that Johnny Depp had been abusive, and yet then after that he was kind of vindicated with it being revealed that Amber Heard had actually been the primary kind of instigator of abuse, and yet now they've decided to replace him.
The thing is, they've already filmed the movie though, so and now and they have a chance to just move on from that whole shit. And I believe Secrets of Dumbledore is set about 7 years in the future, from what I can recall. So of course, you know, they'll allow the fucking Grindelwald character to look so much different. Of course, because 7 years, you basically change your whole appearance in 7 years. So it's okay, don't worry. About
it. Of course, and he was played by Colin Farrell. That's his name, right? In the original film. So.
Yes. So the release date was the 8th of November, but of course he was just in disguise though.
Yeah, that's true. Like I think they should have they literally had a perfect opportunity to just make it so like there's just a never-ending like succession of disguises, which would have been way funnier.
Yeah. So the release date is of course the 8th of November 2018 in Paris. That's the second movie in a week which was released in Paris first. Of course, The Father last week was released. It was released in France first. I don't know Paris specifically. And on the 16th of November, a week later, almost, just over, in the United States and United Kingdom. So, Michael, can you guess what the budget was for Fantastic Beasts? It does feature an ensemble cast, of course.
Based on the cast, the money that would cost, the fact that, like, you know, they would have had some confidence in this franchise, I guess. I feel like it would have been around, like, 200 million. I'm going to go for 180 million.
If you just said 200, you got it bang on.
Oh, really?
It's 200.
Okay, that's annoying.
Yeah, it's 200 million. They spent 200 million on this movie.
Yeah, wow. Great.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. But what about the box office, Michael? How much did it make?
Right. So I think it probably didn't... Well, what I've heard people say is that The Secrets of Dumbledore is likely to underperform because this film wasn't very well received, which implies that this film didn't underperform as much. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I was wondering because I'm sure this got less than the first one. I assume the first one made.
The first one.
Okay.
I'll tell you. The first one made 800 million.
That's what I would have guessed. To be honest, like I was thinking just under 100 billion. Sorry, under a billion. So I'm kind of thinking maybe this film made like. I'm kind of thinking around 600, maybe 650.
Oh, that's a very good guess, Michael. Well done. That's a fantastic guess because the box office is 654.
Oh, wow.
654. So yeah, of course, a bit better than I would say underperforming in terms of like metric. It didn't underperform, but it didn't like hit the heights of what you would probably expect, you know, considering that this is a fucking Harry Potter franchise and only making 654 million in the year of our Lord 2018. That's when it was released. Yeah, not the best for the old Crimes of Grindelwald. But anyway, Michael, let's get on to whether we liked this movie. Did we like Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald?
I found this film horrendously boring. It was so boring. Possibly the most boring fantasy action adventure film I have ever seen in all my time on this earth. It was boring.
Yeah, you know what? I do think that is a fair thing to say. I really do. I know sometimes you're very harsh on J.K. Rowling.
I know.
But I think that you have nailed it in this one. This was tremendously boring. This was awful. And you have to wonder, like, is this the same woman who wrote all those Harry Potter books?
Yeah.
Apparently. Because, like, she knows how to do fantasy action, obviously. She's literally the author of the best-selling fantasy action books of all time, I believe, unless I'm missing. Maybe Lord of the Rings? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or is Lord of the Rings actually action? Maybe. But the point is, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it. How much money did the Harry Potter franchise rake in the books, the movies? And then she can come out with this. And it's just astounding, really. And it seems to me that she has lost it in terms of the touch that makes it good. Because the thing is, the first one, well, I mean her writing good. The first one, The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I think we thought that was bad. I listened to our review of it. Both thought it was bad, but we thought, oh, it's okay, it's fine. This is just like, wow, what are you even doing? Like, why? Like that's what I came away from this movie thinking. Like, why produce this? Unless she just needs money, but she's very wealthy.
Yeah, so and like considering that there was like people would have gone into this with such good faith in terms of like people would want to like people have very fond feelings for the Harry Potter Wizarding World franchise, and yet they still just like what a disaster.
Indeed, but anyway, we'll get into it more. So let's get into nitpicks first, Michael. How many do you have?
I just have one.
Okay, I have 3, so I'll go first. So at the start, there's water in the fucking carriage. When Grindelwald drops the carriage into the New York River, whatever it's called, the Hudson River, whatever the fuck it is, and then so the carriage fills up with water, and then somehow he goes back into the sky. The carriage is still full of water, and it just seems very, 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 very much a bullshit scenario there, Michael. Really didn't think about that too well.
Yeah.
And then the next nitpick is there are so many non-white kids at Hogwarts. And again, I don't have a problem with this, but the thing is, you look at the original Harry Potter movies, how many non-white kids are there? And
yeah, so it's a bit weird that like the Wizarding World became less inclusive.
Yes, it becomes less inclusive, which is of course the complete opposite, because we know it got inclusive in a bunch of other areas, and in terms of magical beings being allowed to marry, non-magical beings or whatever. And so yeah, it's very weird how you look at Hogwarts. It's like, okay, there's a lot of brown kids and black kids, and it's like I'm fine with that, obviously, but then in Harry Potter, those movies were set in the 90s, right? In Harry Potter,
yeah.
There's like 2. There's like Cho Chang, and there's
the black guy who actually gets the line "It's black" in Prisoner of Azkaban, which I remember.
And there's the Indian sisters.
Yeah, there's the Indian sisters. Yeah, the Patel.
Yeah, the thing is, you can point them out because they're the only ones. Everyone else is white. So yeah, I just think it's a bit too ham-fisted there. You want to cover up your own, I guess, errors maybe. But oh no, yeah, we've got plenty of non-white kids at Hogwarts, but yeah, it doesn't really make sense. No wizard says any spell at all in this movie.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, like there's so many things and I was kind of thinking about that. I didn't really think of it as like a criticism, but I did notice it as the funny thing.
Well, the thing is, you establish it in the original Harry Potter. Saying words when casting a spell is pretty damn crucial, although they fucking fuck with the rules a lot, when you need a spell or not. No one ever says any spells, so I don't understand. Anyway, so let's get into the... Oh, sorry, you have a nitpick. Tell me yours.
Oh yeah, so it's just the one thing, which is I believe Zoe Kravitz reads a message out loud. It's the message about like the thing's been moved to the Lestrange grave thing, and like I was kind of thinking, okay, that seems lazy, but the thing is, it wasn't even necessary because then obviously she sees them, and then they go to the thing together. So at first I was thinking, oh, that's clearly just a lazy way of making it so she knows so they know where she's going, like her reading the message out loud. But like I was like, well, I guess that they did it for a purpose. It's lazy, but whatever. But then it didn't even have a purpose because she leads them there anyway. So it's like, why would they? So yeah, just very annoying.
Yes, it is very annoying indeed. So let's get into the plot of this movie, Michael. This is an interesting plot. So this is from a website set in 1927. Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald follows Newt Scamander and Albus Dumbledore, not really the latter, as they attempt to take down the dark wizard Gelbert Grindelwald while facing new threats in a more divided wizarding world. I mean, it's a very... You read that plot description and it's like, it's not really accurate. They don't really want to take down Grindelwald. They want to get everyone wants to get Credence, and then no one really does at the end, apart from Grindelwald. But Credence comes to him, which I guess you could say, it's part of his plan. But yeah, it's just a big problem with this movie, I find, is that nothing really happens of consequence in this movie, and that's partly what makes it so boring. It's incredible. So there's so much shit that's packed into this film, but you're asked to describe what actually happens in this movie.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's just stuff kind of happens. Grindelwald's there. Credence, like, there's no like thing that you can actually point to.
Yeah,
it's just and that's again a problem. I think we had with I think it was what was that movie? The second movie in this. I'm just gonna say the fucking Last Jedi, which I complained about. It's like you watch back and it's like nothing really happens in terms of the actual story. Things just kind of stay as they were, just get a bit worse for the rebellion. This, it's like, kind of just things stay as they are. Things just get a little bit worse for, I guess, the good guys and a little bit better for Grindelwald. This movie relies heavily on surprising family secrets.
Yes, which are very interesting.
Oh, so interesting, yes. Especially when they're characters who have had literally 15 minutes of screen time beforehand. And you're like, okay, I'm going to care about this? Anyway, we'll get into that later. But yeah, Michael, anything else to say on the plot overall?
No, I mean, I was just going to say that, like, the thing is, I watched this film, like I said, a while ago. I can't remember why I watched it, but I watched it. And, like, the thing is, I couldn't remember anything that happened. And usually, when that's the case, it's an indication I was so disengaged that just, like, I couldn't even remember, like, the sequence of events or anything like that. And I was going into it, like, thinking, like, I've already seen this film and I can't really remember anything except for it being very stupid. But I was like, it can't be that boring. There's no way this film about, like, wizards fighting, Magic Hitler is going to be that boring. And it is just that boring.
Magic Hitler, eh? Magic Hitler. Yeah, I like this from Wikipedia. So it grossed 654 million, like we said. Its lowest grossing installment of the Wizarding World franchise. It received mixed reviews with praise for its entertainment value, direction, performances, really. Okay. Right. But criticism of the, and I love this quote, needlessly complicated low-stakes plot. Now, I think that sums it up very well.
Yes.
And that is the worst combination for a plot.
Yeah.
Needlessly complicated, which is true. And we'll get into how unbelievably complicated and contrived this whole thing is, and the low stakes of it. It's just like, okay, well, I guess some characters died at the end, but it's just everything's basically the same as it was at the start of the movie, just with a couple of character deaths.
It's literally just some guy gives a speech. Like that's it's like shocking that's that's the main thing that happens in the film. A guy gives a speech.
Grindelwald, yeah. And
it's like, how like everyone made fun of like the Star Wars prequels for having too much politics, and there's like that joke in The Simpsons where it's just like a massive political meeting. That's this film, but unironically.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. If you set out to make 5 movies, and you're like, okay, I don't know why she's making 5 movies, J.K. Rowling, but she decided 5, and you haven't thought this out clearly. You can't have thought this out. I refuse to believe you thought this out.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, I guess we've got to get a movie out. So this is the movie, and it sets up a lot of stuff. That's all it really does. But again, that's not interesting for a movie if it just sets up stuff. But anyway, so some critics felt it was overburdened with details setting up future sequels. Oh, how about that? Yes, I agree entirely. See, I hadn't read that second line. I just thought I'd read the end of the last sentence I was reading, and it's like, yeah, that's what it was. It was.
Yeah.
It's just a. Yeah, it's like a movie. I guess I don't know who's invested in this franchise, but it's a movie you guess have to get to understand the rest of the movies. I guess is what is the case. But again, like, if you want people to come back to watch the sequels of Dumbledore or the 4th and the 5th one, you're gonna have to actually make it a good movie. Otherwise, people aren't going to come. And you said at the start, Secrets of Dumbledore probably isn't going to go so well, and it's because no one's really excited about this franchise because of this movie, basically. So you can set up all the future sequels you like, but if you don't make a good movie, there's no point in setting up those future sequels. So let's get into the script, Michael. So just remind you what happened in the first one. Do you remember what's happened in the first one?
He wants to go to Arizona to let his eagle free, like some kind of flying eagle thing. But then all of the monsters just fall out of his. I don't remember how the monsters escape, but all of the monsters escape, and then he just has to go and get them together. And then for some reason they get put in an execution chamber at some point. I don't know what it is they do wrong.
Yeah.
And also there's a guy who's in an orphanage, Credence, and one of the Auras is looking for him because he's an animagus.
Yes.
He's Among Us.
Yes, if you remember, because I listened again to our Fantastic Beasts, the first one review, that's what it's called, the first one. And it is what I said was that. So of course Newt was looking for his beasts. Then alongside that, another thing was happening regarding this MacGuffin device that Grindelwald wants to find. It was like the obelisk. And basically, two separate plots not connected. Like again, like kind of like The Last Jedi. And Newt, who is the main character, is not involved in half the plot. It's basically two movies like stitched together. And I was thinking, oh yeah, no wonder I can't really remember, because it's like just things happening. Because with fucking Colin Farrell's character, who's of course Grindelwald, he's looking for the obelisk. Then you have, of course, Newt looking for his beasts, and they just happen to be in New York City at the same time. And the stories, converge at the end, but it's not really a movie. It's not really a good plot, really. If it's like the movies are divided, and they don't really interact at all, apart from right at the end. And yeah, it was something that I thought, okay, so because I listened to that review, and then I watched this movie, I was like, okay, is this movie going to make the same problems or have the same issues as the first one? And I think it's not the same. The movie isn't divided into two movies, because there's two distinct plot threads in the first one. There's just like a bunch of plot threads in this one.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly mixed up, which I think is probably worse. Than the first one, Also, we criticised there being no sense of wonder in the first one, and that was the key to Harry Potter, basically, and also no kids as well. This one, if you're a kid in the Fantastic Beasts universe, you're going to get killed, so...
That's true, that's true, yeah.
It's not great. But anyway, so first off, let's start with the first scene in this movie. Grindelwald, he escapes, because, of course, he has to, Michael, and it can't happen in a clever way. There wasn't any plan to it. The thing is, obviously, yes. Grindelwald is captured at the end of the first movie. That's the big thing. Oh, he's captured. It's Grindelwald, and we've got him. Okay, what do we want to do in this movie then? This is what I mean about Rowling not planning it. It's like, okay, well, I guess I want Grindelwald to be out of prison, so immediately he's out of prison and he escapes right away. It just seems to be pointless that you would capture him at the end of the last movie to just let him out literally in the first scene of the next one.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, let's not forget the fact he was already out, which is like makes it just an extra level of ridiculous, because obviously, like, the thing is, it's supposed to be some exciting thing where they do this escape, but then like literally he's already escaped. So it's kind of like, that's just, it's so dumb. Like, I can't even, it's just, like, not only is it not a particularly interesting heist, in fact, there's like several points where it almost seems like things are happening so fast. Like, I'm almost impressed you were able to nitpick anything, because for me, like, to be honest, like, when the thing filled with water, I actually thought that was like some kind of magical, like, I thought there was something magic going on there. And I mean, at this point, I think there may have been or there may not have been, but to be honest, for me, it looked like I just saw like he like appears under the thing, then he appears on top, then he like knocks some people over, and then like he goes inside, and it's just all of that stuff going on. Just
so many twists, and there's a lot of twists in this movie. Which just some of them you're just like, what the fuck's the point in this one? And that was one of them. that was definitely one of them. Fucking Bane getting saved in The Dark Knight Rises. It was not. To make that, you remember how that happens at the start of that movie? If you recall.
And this is that's true. This is like, it's just so like it's stupid, and then it literally just defeats the whole. So not only does it just exist to like completely undo the fact of him getting arrested. It gives me what is it, Resident Evil 4 vibes, where it's like the third film introduces all of this stuff, and then the first scene of the next film is just completely getting rid of everything.
Because there's a lack of planning, and that seems to hurt fantasy movies, Star Wars, more than anything else, just a lack of planning. So Newt Scamander, of course, he's introduced again in this movie, and the first scene we get him meeting his brother. So that's just keep that on the tally. That's one sibling introduced, and it's shot really weirdly as well. I don't know if you noticed this, but there's just random POV stuff which just isn't necessary in that scene. It's so bad. I don't know why they do it. Like, it happens multiple times, and the rest of the movie, it's not like that at all. And you wouldn't think POV stuff would be good for this kind of movie.
No,
anyway. But yeah, it's just very, very bad for some reason. But anyway, so they're asking, hey, can you kill this Ezra Miller character, Credence? You're going to do that because Grindelwald wants him. He could become powerful because he's an obelisk. And I'm just asking myself, why get Newt? Like, is he suited to do this?
There's no explanation at all.
Again, it's just because the thing is, I was thinking, okay, well, there must be a reason why they're getting him, this like mild-mannered guy. Why is he the best assassin? Maybe he can use his beasts, but no, there's just, you got to do this because you're the main character. And again, I said it last time, like, he doesn't seem like in a main character who would take on the likes of Grindelwald, and that's meant to be kind of his arc at the end of the movie. He's like, I am ready to do that, and that's fine. He can start off quite timid and then become like against him by the end of the movie. That's fine, but why is he being asked to do that before he's completed his arc when he's still just this timid guy who likes his animals? It just baffles me. Again, it's awful stuff. But anyway, we of course.
Oh, by the way, we haven't mentioned the fact that Credence is alive when he died at the beginning of at the end of the last film, which is obviously because you mentioned the whole like lack of planning thing. Credence died, and it was quite an emotional scene too. Like it was kind of like this tortured, abused kid like dies this pretty horrible death, just like exploding, and it's just like he's just alive. That's it. And like I swear, I haven't seen the original film in ages, but I'm pretty sure when we watched that, like it was presented as like, yes, this is the character dying, be sad about this. And it's like, well, if we're supposed to like see a character die, be sad about that character dying, and then just be told Credence has returned somehow, it's like, well, I just can't really care about it anymore.
Credence has returned somehow. Yes.
Dead speak.
Again, yes, I know. It is again. We're making a lot of Star Wars references here in terms of how bad it is, but
and that's not. To be fair, that's the thing, because what was Star Wars the sequels famous for? Not being planned, and also dropping the ball on something that should have been a complete slam dunk. So
rather like this franchise in a lot of ways. But we're introduced to Grindelwald. Well, we're not introduced. I mean, he's back in the movie. After surviving that escape, and obviously he's the wizard Nazi. You got a bit of that in the first movie. Now this movie fleshes it out more, and he's pretty much the same as Voldemort, right? That's the thing. I'm just disappointed that it's just like Voldemort. The original Voldemort, the OG Voldemort. Apparently, that's all he is, right?
Like there's nothing about him which is. I mean, to be fair, I also didn't really like know what Voldemort's whole deal was. But I think it's pretty much the same. Like it's the pure blood thing, right?
Yeah, pure blood thing,
and like wizard supremacy, and they do pretty much say that's exactly his thing, which is it's first of all kind of, you could say, like a very obvious like surface level thing for the villain to have, but that's just made more obvious when you have two villains and they literally just have the exact same motivation. It's just like, okay, it's not that interesting.
Yeah, no, it really isn't that interesting at all. And so obviously he kills a baby, to show how evil he is.
Yes,
because this movie. Like in the Honest trailer, I think made a good joke in the original Harry Potter movie. The baby that was attempted to be killed by the bad guy went on to become Harry Potter and saves the day. And in this franchise, that baby just dies. So a good contrast, really. But what is his motivation in this movie, Michael? Or what's he in this movie to do? I guess he needs credence. Yes, credence is very powerful, and it will unite the factions and get people on his side. And the thing is, okay, he needs credence. Is there a challenge to get him? Is there like does he find it difficult to achieve this goal? No. He just shows up in Paris, like talks to Credence, delivers a speech at the end, and then just gets the fuck out of there, and Credence is with him. It's just like, this movie is just about, he finds Credence, convinces him to join his side, and he joins his side. Like, wow, that's just not very. You need to set up some obstacles for him to overcome to create that excitement, but everything just goes his way, and he doesn't really do anything that evil to get Credence on his side. I mean, that fucking Grimace guy who's actually working for him kills fucking Irma, who was Credence's former maid. But that's it. What are his crimes in this movie, Michael?
The crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, he does kill a baby, and he kills a lizard. So that's cruelty to animals, which is pretty bad.
But he doesn't kill the baby.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I guess so. I guess he's an accessory to murder?
He's an accessory to murder.
They should have called it... There shouldn't have been the crimes of Grindelwald. It should have been the crimes of that lady who killed a baby.
Yeah, I mean...
Because she did the worst crime.
But that's the thing. Before I watched the movie, I was expecting, okay, Grindelwald in this movie, it's called The Crimes of Grindelwald. He's going to do some pretty heinous shit in this movie to achieve his goal of getting Credence, because that's what he wants to do at the start. I'm going to get Credence, Crimes of Grindelwald. He's going to do some really evil shit that gets him Credence, and we're going to see how much of a bad person he is. It's just not really the case, is it? I mean, at the end, of course, he kills a bunch of auras or whatever.
Yeah.
But
they could have called this movie Credence and Where to Find Him.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing is, like, the auras go to him. That's the difference. He doesn't seek them out. They go to him to try and arrest him, and that's the bad guy doesn't want to be arrested and kills a bunch of people trying to do that. It's not really that crazy a thing. So yeah, I mean, and again, it's not anything worse than what he's done previously. I from what I can probably gather about the guy. So yeah, it's just like as this main villain, he's just everything goes his way. It's just very uninteresting because again, he's exactly like Voldemort, and yeah, he just doesn't have to do anything.
And he keeps changing appearance.
He does keep changing appearance.
I mean, it's just like you feel like you can't really get to know him, Like,
oh right, okay.
No, yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know, like Ralph Fiennes. It is Ralph Fiennes, isn't it? I've heard people say Ray Fiennes, but I feel like they're lying. Anyway, he is kind of iconic as Voldemort. Like, obviously, he's behind a whole load of makeup.
Oh yeah, you can't replace him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like I do feel like I haven't seen the later Harry Potter films in a while. But I'm pretty sure he does actually have quite a substantial personality. And in this film, it's kind of like he's just very boring. And the thing is, I feel like part of it is like with Voldemort, the politics stuff about like the pure bloods and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of in the background, and the thing at the foreground is just like him being a generic Dark Lord. Whereas this guy, the politics are just in the foreground. Just like I just don't really care. He's just a politician.
Yeah, there's no personality really behind him, is he?
Yeah.
As well, but that's the thing. He has the motivations of Voldemort. That's the same. Okay, so Voldemort had a bit of a personality, like you said, from what we could tell. So let's make sure this guy has no personality. Then I guess that's to make him different to Voldemort. Give him really cool white hair compared to Voldemort, who's bald. He's a bald fraud. Is Voldemort just like Guardiola?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really shit. Maybe he's gay, and that's the reason why he's got no personality.
That is true. Yeah, gay guys are famous for not really having a personality.
Yeah, that is
being very eccentric.
That's what people say about them, so that would make sense. So, of course, we have the next gay character introduced, which is Dumbledore. And it does feel like it's very ham-fisted. This introduction of Dumbledore, which is what Grindelwald and him used to. All of a sudden, like this famous guy shows up out of nowhere. Dumbledore,
he's got like a little hand thing, like a little glove, which is fun.
And I like how he's like, don't worry if this seems hand-fisted. The introduction of Dumbledore, like, it's Dumbledore all of a sudden. What the fuck? Because he was actually responsible for what Newt did in the last movie. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see, he actually is very well integrated into this franchise already, Michael. It's not like he was just put in. What happened in the previous movie, that was all Dumbledore. So you don't need to worry about, this seems a bit, all of a sudden Dumbledore's here. And isn't this a bit off the cuff? Just this famous character, he's here now. No. He's been here right from the start, Michael. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. I mean, like ultimately, the whole Dumbledore thing. I mean, it makes sense for him to be in this film because I'm pretty sure, or in this franchise, let's say, because I'm pretty sure that it's canon that he and Grindelwald have a fight and they were like enemies, and that's kind of why Dumbledore's famous. But in this film, it does feel like, first of all, he's just there because, it's Dumbledore. And obviously, the other reason it's there is so we can see Hogwarts. And there's definitely a lot of like excitement around that.
Your sigh there was just...
Yes, I know.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, it's Dumbledore. This is the thing you say, okay, he can be in this franchise, fine. But I think it just feels a bit like Rowling knew, okay, well, I'm fine with him being in there, I guess, but Rowling knew, like, okay, people are going to be like, you're just shoving Dumbledore in there. And she was like overcompensating by like, oh no, he was all the stuff in the first movie. That was down to him, so don't worry, And that's what really, it's annoyed me about that. You just don't say that line. You don't need to. But also, his introduction is ridiculous. It's done the wrong way around because... like, it's not even the Dumbledore we know, obviously. Jude Law is playing him. So Jude Law should reveal his face first, and then we should hear Newt say Dumbledore. What happens is Newt says Dumbledore,
and then we just see his face,
and then it's like Jude Law. It's like, well, obviously that's not Dumbledore. Like, the best thing is like, it's Jude Law, and then Newt says, hello, Dumbledore, if you have to do it. It's like, that guy's Dumbledore. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's done the wrong way around, that the reveal. But anyway, so he wants Newt to find Credence, to save Credence, obviously, because, Credence isn't loved, all of that shit. So, obviously, Grindelwald is in Paris to find him as well. The Ministry want to try and kill him. And we also have another character later on, Yusuf, who wants to try and find him and kill him. And you realise this whole movie is just another MacGuffin, basically.
Yeah, but the MacGuffin's a person.
The MacGuffin is Credence, and that's what this movie should be, the search for Credence, like you said. And he's the MacGuffin. And then Tina Goldstein from the previous movie is also searching for him. And so, yeah, it's how many people we got searching for Credence?
Is that 5?
We've got Grindelwald, we've got Newt.
You got the other auras.
We've got the Ministry, the British Ministry of Magic. We've got the American Ministry of Magic, and we've got Yusuf.
Yes.
So we've got 5 people or groups searching for Grindelwald, each with their own separate, or some of them want to save him, kill him, join their side, whatever. That's what when I said at the start, it's quite complicated. That's what I mean. That is the case, yeah. And it's a hacky plot. Like, create this MacGuffin that everyone wants to find, and you've got a bunch of people finding him, so you've got enough scenes to cover the 2-hour runtime. So you don't need any more of a plot than that. Just everyone's trying to find this guy. I don't know why Dumbledore wants Newt to do this again. Same issue as before, Michael. It's like the guy with the beasts didn't apparently, Dumbledore, out of all, he trusts Newt the most for some reason, but surely there's someone better to do it. But whatever.
No, yeah, it's like, here's the thing, it's just, there's only so many times you can say there's no plot, and what plot there is, it's just like all over the place and boring and makes no sense. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
And we've got some more characters though to introduce.
Yes.
Because we have Kowalski and Queenie from the last movie.
Yes.
Do you remember them, Michael? Those iconic characters?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Kowalski, I'd forgotten that was his name. Was probably my favourite character from the first film.
To be fair, you're right, yes.
Yeah, and the thing is, but again, it's another example of them undoing stuff, and they literally explain that they undo it here, because the other scene that was quite, emotionally resonant was when he lost his memory. And, it was oh, that's kind of sad. Oh, man, he was he's just a muggle, he's kind of yeah, and especially as as muggles ourselves, although I personally consider myself a Ravenclaw, but as muggles ourselves, we kind of think to ourselves, oh, imagine if you discovered magic and then you had to forget about it, you had to let it go. Wouldn't that be a sad thing to happen? So it's quite an emotionally resonant moment. But it turns out he kept his memory, and the explanation for how he kept his memory just makes their magic look really incompetent. Because it's just oh, it turns out the memory erasing didn't work, and it's dude, if you've got to erase muggles' memories on the regular, you need to not have this failure rate,
all the stuff that was
significant
the closing plot threads in the final movie just completely undone. And the thing is, we talked about that with the Star Wars movies again, of course,
yes,
but the thing is, those had different directors and writers, so it's a bit of an excuse would be, okay, well, they wanted to do different things, so that's why they chose to go in different directions, even though I don't really think that excuse holds up, but whatever. This J.K. Rowling wrote the first one, right?
No, yeah, that's true, yeah. To be honest, the thing is,
she actually hates past J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, that's true. No, I heard somebody, it was, it doesn't matter who it was, but basically I was watching a video about Harry Potter, and it pointed out that in the 3rd book, they obviously introduced time turners, and then in the 5th book, and I haven't read the books in ages, but there's this really contrived scene where they accidentally blow up all the time turners.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about that Sean video.
Yes, I am, yeah. But yeah, basically, because I did watch that, and yeah, and it was basically saying how there's this thing where she introduces something and then isn't kind of conscious of how that would impact the wider kind of story, and then just goes back and undoes it, which obviously isn't quite what's happening here, because in this case, it doesn't ruin the story that Credence. But yeah, again, it definitely establishes that J.K. Rowling at least has some precedent for introducing these things and then just going back and undoing them in these really clumsy ways.
She didn't just think ahead a bit. Yeah. But again, it's bad. I mean, she's gonna pay for it. She's still gonna probably rake in at least 100 million profit from this sequel to Dumbledore. But people just stop going to these movies. But
yeah, well, it would be crazy if they actually stopped. It would be the kind of person who's just likes when interesting things happen would really like it if they just stopped this franchise halfway through. How crazy would it be if they didn't actually finish the like prequel to Harry Potter.
I know, like nobody would have predicted that when this franchise started. I mean, again, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's like the fact that it could be a possibility. But anyway, so obviously Kowalski and Queenie, they're from the last movie. They come in, and it's just a massive coincidence. Just as this movie is about to kick off with the plot, they arrive. They've been how long has it been in between movies? Like several months. Just on the day before Newt's going to go, they arrive in London to announce they're married, which is a wonderful coincidence. Rowling needed to get them back in the movie and didn't really know how, so just shoved them in there because she didn't really know where else to put them. And I have to say, so Queenie enchants Kowalski, who of course is her boyfriend. She wants to get married, and he gets really mad at her for that, or he doesn't actually get that mad at her.
Yeah, like
he calls her crazy.
That's kind of the hilarious thing. Like,
and she gets offended.
Yeah, like the kind of ethics of that is a bit messed up. That like she enchants him and takes away his agency with a spell. Add on top of that the weird power dynamic that she can literally read his mind, so he has like no privacy. So he's got no privacy and not even any control over his own body because she can just enchant him. And then he's like the mildest amount bothered by that, and she's like really angry at him.
If I was Kowalski, I'd say, yes, bitch, you are crazy.
Yeah, also that's not bear in mind. Bear in mind that she also ends the movie by joining.
We'll get onto that. We'll fucking get onto Christ on a bike. Yeah, this character, man, like fucking Queenie. But yeah, so again, it's just completely ruins the ending of the last movie. Also, just a massive coincidence or bad writing, shoving them into this movie. And yeah, the whole enchanting thing, it's just like, no, you're wrong. Like, yes, the guy should be very mad. Any normal person would be mad at being enchanted and not having the ability to do anything. But anyway, so we get some queer baiting with Dumbledore next, Michael.
Yes.
So obviously we go to Hogwarts. We get some nice Hogwarts baiting, I guess, which we'll get onto. But the thing is, obviously, Rowling has been criticised in the past for not going full on, or just not coming out,
being gay enough.
Not being gay. Yeah, saying, oh yeah, these characters are gay or something along those lines, and they're not actually following through with it in the actual movie. Happened in the first one to an extent, the first Fantastic Beasts, and again it happens in this one as well with Dumbledore and Grindelwald, because the thing is, the fucking Ministry of Magic guy comes in and says to Dumbledore, hey, you used to be as close as brothers. That's what he says about Grindelwald and Dumbledore. And then Dumbledore says, oh, we used to be closer than that. And we cut to these people, and are they going to kiss to show that they were closer? No, they're not. They just fucking hold hands. And the thing is, that line as well, oh, we used to be closer than that, that could easily be cut out the movie as well. I might have been in certain markets as well. There was because it cuts to the whatever the fucking magic guy's doing, the projection of young Grindelwald and Dumbledore, then it cuts back to Jude Law, then it cuts back to the projection again, and it's just like, yeah, this that could have easily been cut, and it's just, again, are these people are clearly in a relationship, they loved each other, that's clear, but are we actually going to show them being gay together? No, we're not. And just the line, closer than brothers, will have to do, I guess. Yeah,
that's the funny thing is, actually, it's almost like there's actually less queer baiting in this, because like the thing with like queer baiting, I mean, the example I've heard of it is like in the Sherlock thing, where apparently like there's loads of like implication that Sherlock's into John Watson or whatever, but then like they're never actually revealed to be gay. The thing is, in this film, there really isn't like, it's not even like they really even touched on it that much. It's just like, I guess,
I mean, maybe it's not queer baiting, but it's just like refusal to just go over the last hurdle. You're telling, and that's what I was thinking. You're telling me if there was a man and a woman in a similar situation,
they wouldn't. They would just show the kiss.
Yeah, if that projection shown, they would kiss. But I have to think it's because they were two men. They didn't. And I don't really know why.
Yeah, like it's not even that. It's kind of, it's one of those weird things where like even if they did show a kiss, like it's kind of the situation where it's like, who would care? I mean, I know some people would care.
Some people definitely would. Yeah, but overall, you're talking,
care.
Yeah, 650 million. And again, you can, if you want, like Disney have done with against Star Wars and other movies, of course. You can cut out that kiss in other markets.
Yeah, like they weren't even, like, even if they would have gone down that cynical route, like that would have almost been kind of more like better in a way. Like actually to have their relationship be genuinely presented as gay for, non-backwards audiences. But then if they're showing it somewhere else, they can just get rid of it. It's like, okay, yeah, good, that's great. But instead, apparently we're all in China now.
I know, but I don't understand why, again, you just wouldn't cross that last hurdle. So yeah, I guess it's queer basing, but it's just, but again, at the same time, it's not, because it's like, well, it's obviously, these guys are obviously gay. Just show them being gay, little kiss on the lips. There we go. And we're okay. We don't even get that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is also, it's worth noting, like, admittedly, this would be a hard thing to do because, you can't really communicate a proper relationship in flashbacks, but it's worth noting that I don't think anybody is, like, actually invested in this idea that, like, Dumbledore loves Grindelwald. I mean, apart from anything else, like, they almost seem to imply that he doesn't love Grindelwald, because, like, the only reason why, like, he's not like, oh, I don't want to kill him because I love him. He's like, I don't want to kill him because I did this oath, which means I can't kill him. And it's like, wouldn't it be better if, like, because that's the thing that, there's, like, literally... there is, again, I'm going to make another Star Wars comparison. This isn't like Anakin and Obi-Wan, where, and again, that's not like, I'm not saying that's like the best relationship ever portrayed, but at least it's like, oh, you can tell they were friends, and then they did fight each other, and it's clear Obi-Wan didn't want to do it. In this film, they don't even hit the levels of the Star Wars prequels,
Yeah, I know. It's and we'll see what happens in the next one if they improve on that. But yeah, I just don't understand it. But you know what, Michael? In Fantastic Beasts, our first review, we actually touched on this a bit, I think.
Oh.
And I've got some audio that I was I don't know if it'll play well, but this is from our first review like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
There you go.
And J.K. Rowling was like, yeah, obviously. So basically, J.K. Rowling has confirmed, J.K. Rowling, isn't it? But whatever, has confirmed that she is a queer beta. She said Dumbledore was gay so that she could seem progressive, but now it's actually come time to put her money where her mouth is. She's been like, well, we're not going to make him gay in the films, obviously. So what do you think about that, Lou? Do you think she's a queer beta and should be summarily executed in a big wizard execution chamber?
Wow, that's like a real misogynist who said that.
The thing is, I just point that out because I was thinking that, and of course I listened to the review. It's like, yeah, we said you said just the exact same thing you said last time. So yeah, it's weird, but yeah, maybe that'll change in Secrets of Dumbledore. We shall see. Will we see any? Will we finally see Dumbledore being gay after 10 movies? Will we finally see him being gay? Anyway, so also we got a lot of member stuff, Michael.
Yes,
because Hogwarts. Remember fucking Nicholas Flamel as well. Remember Nangini. Remember all of that. Yeah.
By the way, it is Nagini, not Nangini.
Just sorry, I apologize. Okay. I need to remember her more.
Nangini. No, but yeah, like the Nagini thing is like really weird because it kind of like, oh my god, I'm gonna do another Star Wars thing. It reminds me of like how, for some reason, the random droids on Princess Leia's ship that get shot down to Tatooine, it's then revealed in the prequels that they happen to have been made by Darth Vader and kind of, like adopted by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just kind of like arbitrary. And like that's the thing, it's kind of here, like the random snake that Voldemort had is kind of, again, maybe they'll explain why, like how this relationship is, but right now as things stand, just like the random snake Voldemort had was also friends with Dumbledore's secret half-brother. And it's just like, that doesn't seem like a necessary relationship to establish.
No, you know what? It doesn't seem, but I guess, hey, everyone wanted to know Nangini's backstory. Oh, that's it, right? Nangini.
No, it's Nagini.
Oh, fucking hell.
It's okay.
Nagini. Everyone wanted to know Nagini's backstory. Now we do. Fantastic. So, obviously, we get to this stage in the movie right now. We're kind of in the middle of the movie where everybody is in Paris. And we've got scenes with Grindelwald. He's doing stuff. We have scenes with Tina Goldstein. She's doing stuff with Newt. Separate scenes with Newt as well. They haven't really met yet, but then of course they do. They're all in Paris doing the searching, all these great scenes. And Queenie is in Paris doing a bunch of bullshit as well. Remember that scene where Queenie just like drops her suitcase while she's trying to find her sister?
Yeah, that was pointless.
Pointless. Went on for like 3 minutes, and then she walks outside in the rain and she's depressed. Could have cut that at least in half, but whatever. Then we also, of course, get this 10-minute bunch of BS. I'd say BS. So it turned out not to really be BS, but I guess you could say, involving Lita character, Lita Lestrange. Of course, we have Professor McGonagall.
Yes.
Has a cameo. So remember Professor McGonagall? She's there. And of course, Lita Lestrange is the fiancée of Newt's brother. the thing is, like, this shows how bad this movie is in terms of the planning or whatever. Like, you have this situation where this character, Lita Lestrange, has 3 minutes probably of screen time.
Yeah.
Like, before we get to this 10-minute flashback of her back in Hogwarts. And it's like, okay, so all of a sudden this character is important then, I guess, because we're having this flashback. Like, we need to have more scenes beforehand, because like an hour and like 10 minutes into the movie, oh, okay, like Lita Lestrange is a significant character, so that's great. So I don't know, it just, and the thing is, she wasn't in the first one either, was she?
No, so, so she's just randomly introduced, and no one cares about her.
Yeah, but and it's randomly in the middle of the movie. We're meant to care about this character when she was introduced as kind of a minor side character earlier on. That's what the sense you got. I thought, based on the first couple of scenes, Newt and his relationship with his brother was going to take precedence.
Yes,
but obviously that isn't the case. So again, it's just really bizarre planning. And yeah, it is amazing how many characters are in this movie. Like, meaningless side characters like Yusuf and Lita then become like main characters as well. Yeah. And how much pointless filler is just crammed in this movie? I have to. It feels so bloated. You have to keep track of so many characters. In fact, Michael, let's go to Wikipedia and let's take stock of all the characters, because these are all in the middle of the movie or at the end of the movie. They're all doing shit, and there's a fucking bunch of them. Obviously, Eddie Redmayne is Newt Scamander. Yeah. So he has this relationship with Tina Goldstein, and he's looking for Credence. Tina Goldstein, she's looking for Credence, has a relationship, or this thing with Eddie Redmayne, and obviously her sister is also in this movie, but they don't spend any time together, right? Her sister, which that's just completely forgotten about. Yeah, apparently. So then we have Jacob Kowalski, obviously wants to find Queenie. That's why he's in New York. Sorry, that's why he's in Paris. Then we have Queenie Goldstein. She is not happy with her husband, and she is looking for her sister, and then she also gets seduced by Grindelwald, I guess, in some way. Yeah. We have Credence Barebone, who is looking for his family. That's what he's trying to do, and a bunch of people are after him. Of course, 5 people after him with 5 groups of people with different motivations. Okay, we're not done quite yet. We have Lita Lestrange, who wants to, of course. No, what does she want to do in this movie? She just wants to. She comes to Paris to. Yeah. Why did she come to Paris? What is her motivation to come to Paris?
Because she thinks Credence is so. Is it because she thinks Credence is her brother? Or am I confusing my people?
She knows.
So she's there to rescue him, maybe?
To stop Yusuf killing Credence, perhaps. But why would she care that much about Credence?
I don't know. Maybe she just feels like what they say: blood is thicker than water. If you found out you had a secret half brother and you knew someone was going to kill him, would you go to? This is the question that really defines you.
But Credence isn't her half brother.
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, because she knows. Oh yeah, sorry. Duh.
But Yusuf is her half brother, so she's gonna. But does she know that Yusuf is there trying to kill Credence?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Maybe. Okay. Actually, yeah, does she know that? That's a good point. I was gonna say maybe because she feels guilty about killing her actual half brother, with the switcheroo on the boat. Now she's like, it's like a Saving Private Ryan situation. She's like, oh, now I can't let my fake half brother die. Okay, so maybe that's it. That's
we have Theseus Scamander, Newt Scamander's older brother, who again he comes into Paris. Maybe it's the same reason for Lita, because they come into Paris to arrest Grindelwald. I think that's what they do. And Lita, does she also work for the Ministry of Magic, or is she just what does she do? Lita, what's her actual job?
Lisa Lestrange. I don't know if they.
She does work. Yeah, she does work at the British Ministry of Magic. Yes, she does. But so she gets to the tomb before her husband for some reason, and that isn't explained, I guess. So we have Claudia Kim as Nagini, who escapes. Yeah, we already. She doesn't really play that vital role in the plot. We have here's another one. William Nadalim and Yusuf Karma, the French Senegalese. Again, we thought this is just a minor side character. No, he plays a vital role in the movie because he allows us to, through trying to kill Credence, we realise that Credence isn't actually a Lestrange. Yeah. And he is, of course, half related to Lita Lestrange. They're half sister, half sibling. So yeah, that's what he's there to do. And then we have Kevin Guthrie's Abernathy. Yeah, who cares? And Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore, he's in there, of course, as well. He's directing things from Hogwarts, not actually going to Paris. Then we have Johnny Depp as Gilbert Grindelwald, and of course, he's doing his evil stuff because he's the main bad guy. But we also don't even have fucking in the characters I've listed on Wikipedia. We don't have that Grimson guy listed who is there to kill. No, he's in there to kill Irma to turn Credence to Grindelwald. That's what he's there to do. Yes.
He's right, and I think, what's it called? He's the false flag.
He is the false flag. He is indeed. So how many characters do we have that I would say play a significant role in the plot? So there's Grimson, there's and there's the main British Ministry of Magic guy who clearly doesn't like Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So the main boss. So that he counts, I think, as a kind of a main character because he influences the movie in a significant way. So there's that. There's of course so that's Gilbert Grindelwald 3, Albus Dumbledore 4. I'm going to count Yusuf Karma 5. I'm going to count Thesis Scamander 6. Zoe Kravitz as Leta Lestrange 7. Credence Barebone 8. Queenie Goldstein 9. Jacob Kowalski 10. Tina Goldstein 11. Newt Scamander 12. So I think we have 12 characters, and again, in the middle of the movie, they're all talking. They all have their different motivations. They're all doing shit. 12 characters who you need to keep track of, who are doing stuff in this movie, Michael. And that is, I think, far too much, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, there's, and like then the thing is, you don't even know any of the characters. So it's like there's so many of them, and it's just like it's not even clear who this film wants to be about. And it's like they could have just take all of the roles different characters are doing and like condense them onto some other characters. Like give other characters more roles, and some of the characters just need to go because they don't. The whole role is pointless anyway.
I didn't even count Nagini, by the way, or Abernathy. I didn't count them in that list, by the way.
Yeah,
because those are side characters. Oh yeah, and there's that Grindelwald's like assistant who dies because he's not loyal to him at the end. Fucking Cray. What was he? Remember him, Michael?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good old Cray.
Yeah. So again, like just. That is ridiculous. Again, it's insane. 12 main characters who are all doing shit. You go such a long period of time with like, oh yeah, like this character's in this movie. I forgot this character was in this movie. And the thing is also, Michael, you talked about how, characters, needed to basically, well, there just needs to be less characters, less than 12. Maybe half of that would be good. Maybe at the most 8, I guess, who have a significant impact on the plot. And, different characters have different roles, etc. But the thing is, that would require, someone to tell, I guess, J.K. Rowling, hey, you need to cut some of this, you need to change some of this. She needed, basically, someone to come in and edit this. And, I guess you mentioned that video from Sean before. He said, and I thought it was a very good point from him. I noticed how the fucking, what was it, The Order of the Phoenix, the 5th book? When that came out, it was massive compared to the previous ones, and that was the first movie that was released after. The first book that was released after she got big. That was in 2003 or something. And I remember maybe one of the reasons Harry Potter for me didn't catch on because that was the first book I remember coming out when I was 6 or 7 years old, and it was fucking massive.
Yes, it was ridiculously big.
Yes, and I'm like, well, I ain't reading that, and it maybe discouraged me from reading the previous ones because I'm like, well, I don't want to read all that. I'm not sure. True, maybe that was the case for me. Again, I don't really care about Harry Potter that much, but the point is that was when she was like, right, no, every single one of my thoughts about this franchise or about the universe I'm putting into this movie. And again, people who I trust on Twitter as well, and I say, I follow people
who generally have good takes.
Yeah, good takes. There's some people that I follow who, again, this person who I follow specifically, they don't really care about Rowling that much at all. They just said they'd read 3 of her crime books, or that was what she did, right? Crime novels.
Yeah, crime novels.
Yeah, and the biggest takeaway that they had from reading these crime novels was that they're very bloated and they could use an editor, and for some reason they didn't get one. And it seems, again, this is the case with this movie, this Crimes of Grindelwald, perhaps the case with some of her books, although, of course, those were very successful, and it's perhaps the case with her novels as well. Like, she could do with an editor, and I don't know if she just maybe refuses to be edited, I guess.
Yeah,
but
or it could be that, like, kind of production companies, publishing companies, and studios don't even like care to, you know, like
could be that.
Because, you know, just like, well, people are going to buy it no matter what.
But I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe they trust her too much. Maybe they do. I get it. I started this review by saying how she fucking wrote the book literally on creating successful fantasy action movies, or products, I guess. Successful
intellectual properties.
Yes, exactly. So hey, she knows what she's doing. Just leave her to it. But it's clear, like, you know, that there needs, and maybe that's what will happen with Secrets of Dumbledore. But we'll of course see. But yeah. So the question is, where are, Michael, this is the next question, where are the Fantastic Beasts?
Yes, where can we find them?
Because they are just in this movie kind of incidentally, you know. And the movie, of course, is called Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, but, you know, I said actually, to be fair, Crimes of Grindelwald, he doesn't really do many crimes apart from at the end. But yeah, there's not a lot of Fantastic Beasts either. And of course, there's this circus in Paris that has this, you know, Chinese animal, half cat, half dragon, whatever the fuck it is. But you know, it's not really essential to the plot, because, you know, he captures this Chinese beast, but it's just there because it escaped. You know, he didn't actually go looking for it, and there's again no connection to the actual plot apart from, I guess, they get away from the librarian's animals because it's, you know, I guess you could say, oh, that's its function in the movie. But, you know, if the title's Fantastic Beasts, and again, it just seems, again, and that you could link it to the fact that, oh, Dumbledore and the Ministry of Magic want Newt to go and get Credence to either kill him or save him by using his animals, by using his beasts. But yeah, he doesn't until it's absolutely necessary at the end. There's not a consistent thing he does throughout the movie. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that, yeah, like, you call your movie or this franchise this, and it just doesn't live up to the name at all again. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that this really did miss, like, I was kind of realizing, I think we might have mentioned this in the first film when we reviewed the first one too. Yes. Yeah, like, it's pretty obviously opportunity this film is. And what I realized is that, like, because I was thinking specifically when it was at the Hogwarts scene, and they went to Hogwarts, and I thought, this film and this film franchise should really just be like Magic Indiana Jones. Because what I was thinking is, like, if Nicholas Flamel, what's his name? Newt Gingrich, Newt Scamander was like a professor at Hogwarts, and that way, you know, like Indiana Jones, he could be there, and then, you know, the Ministry of Magic could kind of be like, Dr. Scamander, we have this thing that you got to go to this particular part of the world to deal with, and then he'd go there, and then a bit like, you know, the Nazis in the Indiana Jones films,
might be a bit too much of a rip-off, I have to say.
Yeah, I was thinking that. But here's the other thing I was thinking. Okay, like, they could have had him have kind of a sidekick, if you like, who was a student. And because they're only doing 5 films, he wouldn't have to be like 11, but you can maybe have maybe he starts when he's like 13, and then if they want to have the films kind of stretched out over several decades, you could have it so, like, maybe in the later 2 films, he's like kind of left school at that point, and he's just like, you know, he's just there, maybe working on his doctorate or whatever, but like have kind of a student sidekick who he takes along with him, because that's the kind of reckless childhood endangerment that I'm pretty sure Hogwarts can really get behind. And I was like thinking, yeah, that would work. And then, like, obviously you have that aspect.
How old is this?
Well, so what I was kind of thinking is maybe in like the first film, they could be going on not so much of a dangerous, it could be like a mission that they don't expect to be dangerous, but it turns out dangerous, and like maybe the kid's like 13. So it's kind of like, and then maybe in the next film he could be like 15, and then the next film he could be 17. So basically 3rd year, 5th year, 7th year. And then in the last 2 films it could be like, okay, now he's left school, and that could be kind of like the world, you know, when they're properly getting into like the Wizarding War thing. And yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. The thing is, like, having said that, I think, you know, who cares? Okay. Who cares?
Okay, who cares? But that's the thing. I like you. I think we talked about this in the previous one. What we expected when this franchise was announced, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it wouldn't be about like Magic Hitler trying to stop World War II from happening. You know, and the fucking Fantastic Beast guy trying to make sure World War II does happen. You didn't think it was going down that path, right? You thought it would be kind of Indiana Jones-esque. And of course, we criticised the first movie for not really being that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. He just lost his beasts, right? It wasn't a case of where to find them.
Yeah,
you know, necessarily.
Fantastic Beasts and where to lose them.
Yeah, exactly. And then this one, it's like Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Like I said, not really a lot of crimes from Grindelwald, but again, the Fantastic Beasts are just really on the back burner. They're kind of incidental. So,
and actually, it's kind of like, see, the thing is, I was also thinking about like how in the first film, for example, because the first film, like I say, shouldn't have been like so much of like a scary thing. It could have been like they're going, like, it's kind of weird that they stayed in New York, because like his goal was to get to Arizona, I think, because he wanted to let the eagle go in Arizona. And it's like, it's the fact that they go to New York and he just stays there. I was kind of thinking, like, obviously the thing with the Harry Potter films is that they're all limited to one location, Hogwarts. So what they could have done with this film is kind of gone in the opposite direction, be like, okay, this thing, we're going to go more like traveling around. And they've obviously like pretty much not really done that, because basically each film, they go to one location. First of all, it was New York. This one, it's Paris, and then they just stay there. So it's a bit too stationary.
It is indeed. So, okay, so we finally get into the ending of the movie, Michael, because there's also a lot of bullshit that happens in the middle. Like I said, a ton of characters.
I don't think climax is too strong of a word, by the way.
Oh yeah, the great climax. So the ending really starts when they all go to this like tomb thing, cemetery, because Queenie goes there because Kowalski sees Queenie there. So then Kowalski goes there, and then Credence and Nagini or whatever go there as well, and then Yusuf goes there. And then Lita goes there with Newt and Tina, but we don't see Credence arrive there, and Nagini, because they're together, and we don't see Yusuf arrive there either. And I did think it's like a scene has been cut out, because you see, like, Kowalski, he's got a wand to his head. It's like, oh, who's that going to be? It was probably Yusuf, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, so that explains them there. But the crucial scene of Credence and Nagini also arriving at this place, because Yusuf, of course, wants to kill them. Surely you would show that scene, because Lita, fucking Tina and Newt, so many characters, like you say, Lita, Tina, and Newt just show up, and it's like, oh, okay, so we have like at least 2 more characters than we thought we had it in this tomb than before, and okay, fine. Yeah. It just seems like you just cut out a scene, like. That's what it felt like, right, Michael?
No, yeah, definitely. Like it's weird, how they all get in there, and I was kind of like, oh wait, so who's getting in out? And okay, these people are already there. Yeah, it was confusing. Yeah, it's very convoluted, and especially if you cut out the scenes, you're kind of like, have I missed something here? But no. Anyway, so we did actually miss something, but not actually in the movie. So of course we then get these flashbacks, because Lita finds her brother, or realizes that her brother is this guy, and that's great, I guess, even though it wasn't set up well throughout the movie, as I had no idea it was significant. And this also was obvious that it was going to happen, because she thought, oh, her brother was dead. That's what she kept saying. So I'm like, oh yeah, her brother's going to be alive.
Whatever
they say, it's the opposite of that.
Yes. Her brother was alive. And the only thing that we knew about her character was, her brother was, she lost her brother, but of course that's not the case. And the search, of course, I'm just going to read this from Wikipedia. The search leads them to the strange family tomb, where they find Yusuf, who reveals that he is carrying out his father Masala's request to avenge his mother Lorena. She was kidnapped by Corvus Lestrange IV using the Imperius curse, and died giving birth to Lita, Yusuf's half-sister. Lita reveals that she unintentionally caused Corvus the Fifth's death, sailing to America. Lita, unable to stand his constant crying, switched her baby brother with another infant Credence. The ship sinks, and Corvus drowned. And that is a lot of exposition. Yes. The thing is, I didn't even know these characters were significant. That's the thing. That's what I kept thinking. These characters, apparently they're not side characters. They're incredibly significant characters to the movie. The movie didn't treat them like that up until this point, but they are. And it's a ton of exposition, and it's never a good sign in a movie if you have a double flashback bit. You can have one flashback, but immediately after, if another character has another flashback, that's very bad writing. It's awful writing, like just overloading you with exposition and all this contrived bullshit as well. I mean, I could nitpick all the stuff in these flashbacks for days as well. It's just really, really bad. It's awful. It truly is. Everything about this scene. What do you think?
Yeah, so I actually cringed during the scene. Like, I was just like, and I think like one of the reasons I cringed is because like I just had a moment where I realized this is their climax to the second film in the in the Wizarding World franchise. The Fantastic Beasts thing. I was like thinking to myself, like, this is. They had the Wizarding World, like Harry Potter, loads of people love it, and this is what they decided to make the climax. This boring, convoluted explanation that's basically just explaining a family tree, and it's like a dialogue scene, and I literally was just like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this.
Yes, and like that. Also, Credence isn't actually Lestrange because everything the movie's been setting up. Oh, he is actually Lestrange. I thought there might be a twist where it's not, and of course that is the case. He's not actually Lestrange, and we get to the final twist with what he actually is at the end. But it's like this is how you reveal. Like because the movie's been setting it up. This is how you reveal that Credence isn't actually that, and there's a whole fucking bullshit family tree situation behind it. And again, Yusuf, like why he's there, it's not just a simple backstory. It's really complicated, and Lita's backstory is really complicated as well. And again, she didn't get a lot of time beforehand. It's awful. Like it's the worst way to do whatever you're trying to do. It's the worst way. And again, it's crazy that. That's in the movie. It truly is one of the worst bits of filmmaking I've ever seen in any movie. If you consider the fact that this is a big blockbuster, like $200 million. But yeah. So next up we have, of course, the scene where they all again. That scene doesn't lead to any consequences. Right? Everybody's just like, okay, fine. Well, that's sorted then, I guess. We all know.
And also, I suppose I should make... there's another Star Wars comparison that could be made here, in that, like, this is the whole, like, people are related to each other thing, which is, like, considered, like, a twist. And it's, like, obviously that was a big thing of, like, Star Wars, where it was, like, Rey's a Palpatine. Okay.
You know what? I was going to talk about that at the end with
really? That's funny.
Well, of course, with the reveal of, you know, who Credence is actually related to, how many times they do this fucking trope. We can talk about it now if you like.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe we might as well, seeing as we're already talking about the family tree. It's just so dumb.
So we have Newt, who has his sibling in this movie, Lita, who has a sibling in this movie, and actually has another sibling in this movie. Yusuf has a sibling, of course, in Lita, and Credence is not their sibling, but Credence is the sibling of Albus Dumbledore. And you also have the sibling relationship between Tina Goldstein and Queenie Goldstein as well. Like,
yes, so everyone has to be related.
That's the thing. In the first movie, there was you had two sisters. That was it. In this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 sibling relationships. If you say Yusuf has a or fucking Lita has a sibling, she's a sibling with both Yusuf and the baby that she killed, who of course is the fucking Credence that or the Corvus, whatever, that they all fucking wanted to, that Yusuf wanted to kill. But basically, Michael, it's like you do this trope, you rely on this trope so much. Like Rowling, I don't know why she got so invested in this trope in this movie. Maybe she just seen like the fucking I don't know, The Last Jedi. When did that come out? No, she probably hadn't seen The Last Jedi yet. Maybe she saw the old Star Wars movies with Luke and Luke.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I feel like, is that really what's responsible for it? Just like that Luke, I am your father. So it's like, oh wow, if another character is related to another, if one character is related to another character, that's a twist.
It would be, it can only work once, this twist.
Yeah.
And if at the end you would like, this Credence is actually Aurelius Dumbledore, and he's actually Dumbledore's brother. That would be, but at that point I was like, oh great, another fucking brother, another fucking relationship.
Yeah. And also, like, I think the things that needs to be consequential, like obviously, famously, like Luke finding out that Vader is his father, dramatically is like basically his entire conflict in the next film. Like, can he bring himself to kill his own father, or is he going to try and redeem his father? Like, it matters. Whereas, and I'm not saying that it won't matter here, but I would strongly suspect that of the half a dozen different familial relationships they've established, a lot of them aren't going to matter at all, and potentially none of them are going to matter. And of course, in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey being a Palpatine really didn't matter. So that's the other thing. Like, for it to be a twist, it needs to be like, oh, this has implications for the plot.
Yeah,
and
I just felt so flat at the end. It's like Aurelius Dumbledore. So it's just like, oh great. Well, what implications does that have? And again, you're using this trope again. But anyway, let's get into Grindelwald wanting to stop World War II and why that's bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
Yeah, so Grindelwald, of course, the thing is with Grindelwald, he knew all along who Credence was, so he set up this whole thing about what was he doing then in Paris? He was just waiting. He was just inviting a bunch of people to come and see his speech in Paris.
Yeah, it was just a political rally.
Yeah, that's what he was there for. And with Credence, he knew all along who he was. But yeah, I don't know why you just won't tell him immediately. But whatever, I don't get that. Anyway, so obviously we have Grindelwald gives a speech, rails against the laws prohibiting them from preventing World War II. And this is so funny. The good guys need to stop the bad guys from stopping World War II. You know, and again, in the Sean video, which we'll reference again, he talks about the fact that, you know, the Wizards, a stupid criticism that's aimed at Rowling is, why didn't the Wizards do something about the Holocaust? And, you know, it's fucking bullshit because, it's a fucking whole alternate history. You don't need to actually, you don't need to actually respond to them, J.K. Rowling, and say, oh no, this is why. Just say it didn't happen. It's fine. It doesn't happen. Like, you can, it's incredible. Like, it's a whole new world, like, of incredible things that happen in this wizarding world. But you can't imagine, like, the future playing out like any differently, like with wizards.
You know what? I'm trying to remember what it was. There was this film I saw, and I saw loads of people saying, like, this is what happens when you let CinemaSins decide how you make films. And I wish I could remember what the film was, but like it was a film that was basically like hyper obsessed with making sure there were no plot holes, like basically explaining every single thing it could. And ultimately, there is a point. And of course, you know, like you can appreciate when a film tries not to have plot holes. But yeah, with a lot of this stuff, like you can just say, you know what? It's just a fun fantasy film, and you know, if there's like some weird like questions around it, sometimes those questions don't need to be answered. But apparently they do.
Why didn't the Wizards stop 9/11?
Yeah.
Well, who the fuck cares? It's not about 9/11. It's not about global politics. Harry Potter, and this again, Fantastic Beasts. From what I could tell, again, I didn't think it was going to be about global politics, but again, she clearly wanted to address this in some way. Maybe she wanted to. She was always going to do a movie about Grindelwald and Dumbledore. I don't know how long they've been in the Harry Potter canon for, and she thought, hey, this is a good idea. Why don't we explain why World War II? Because when I first heard about this, and obviously I knew the year, you know, this was happening, I thought, it's going to be Grindelwald is going to contribute to World War II. That's what's going to happen because he's so evil. And I was like, that's a bit of a bullshit. World War II happened because of Grindelwald's just inherent evilness, you know, but whatever. Yeah. This is like worse. This is worse. And again, it's just not necessary. And the thing is, like, you're stopping a better movie from being made by pursuing this avenue. Again, maybe things change around in The Secrets of Dumbledore, but yeah, I don't get why. Well, I guess I get why. I just don't understand why you would need to do this.
It's weird. I mean, on the one hand, like, I feel like there is a sense in which, obviously, like, Grindelwald says, like, this shows that the Muggles are violent, which is why we should kind of rule over them. So, like, obviously, from that perspective, I guess I get why he appeals to World War II to, like, prove his point. He's like, look, they're doing war. That's bad. But, yeah, like, and that's obviously independent of, like, why even bring World War II into it. But, obviously...
But again, it's just that the universe or the world can have a different history. Again, it's incredible. She could come up with these incredible concepts, like this whole wizarding world, such imagination, just genuinely incredible imagination, and then everything has to stay exactly the same.
Yeah, well, also it's really stupid as well, because here's the thing, like, we all know the wizarding world makes no sense. Like, people, like the fact that, for example, there's poverty in the wizarding world, even though you can literally just create anything out of anything. Like, this is a world which you could just nitpick for hours and hours and hours, and there is no way that you could possibly make it. So, like, considering what is established so far in the Harry Potter universe, there's just no way it could work. And to be honest, like, the magic can do anything. So if you followed the logic of, like, the magic in this film to its logical conclusion, this would be a very boring universe. So, like, just roll with the fact that it makes no sense.
Just roll with it. People enjoyed the movies. Just roll with it. They're fun fantasy action adventure movies. They don't have to be airtight. Nobody ever was. Well, nobody who is worth listening to would ever ask for that. Certainly, that, you know, I think we joked with Wonder Woman 1984. Like, why didn't Wonder Woman stop the Holocaust? I think we joked about that. But that's the thing. All it was, it's a joke. We don't really like the Wonder Woman 1984. Could have been. It wasn't a great movie. It was really bad. But it would have been an incredible movie. And the fact that she, in her timeline, didn't stop the Holocaust would not have mattered. Yeah, to how we perceived the movie, if we enjoyed it or not. Anyway, so somehow that's okay. So Queenie becomes a fascist.
Yes.
So here's the thing: Grindelwald clearly he hates non-magic people. Like, very clearly, he thinks they're lower than him. That's very clear. You can't miss that. Queenie wants to marry this guy, Kowalski, who is a non-magic person. She goes to his side anyway. What attracts her to him? Yeah. And her sister, by the way, doesn't react at all. It's like fucking Rowling forgot that she'd written these to her sisters as well.
Yeah, the sister's just like, oh, this is going to make some awkward Thanksgivings.
Yeah. But again, Queenie's a fascist now. This weirdo, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like there's no explanation for why. And the thing is, like, it would make sense if, like, for example, Grindelwald's position was more like, okay, the wizards should be in a position of authority because they are naturally more powerful. Like, you know, like maybe Grindelwald kind of had the position of like the wizards are a superior breed, a superior race, if you will, and therefore they should be the dominant race. But the other races can still, you know, like muggles can still exist. They should just be subservient. And that way, like, Queenie could be like, oh, I'll roll with that because, you know, I mean, clearly, I mean, to be fair, that actually fits into her, like, personality quite well. I mean, she literally, the first muggle she met, she basically just entranced him. So, you know, like, I could, like, you know, within that logic, I mean, obviously there's people there are men who are married to women who think men should be superior to women. So, yeah, that would maybe make sense. But, like, he literally wants to kill all muggles.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's a necrophiliac.
She's not happy with the fact that her husband or her, you know, Kowalski can't be her husband. So she joins a person who wants her husband's or her supposed husband to have even less rights. It doesn't. Yeah, it's BS basically. But anyway, yeah, and obviously we talked about the end with Credence. He of course joins Grindelwald, even though Grindelwald didn't tell him who he was yet. Why was Credence wanting to go with Grindelwald? Who the fuck knows? But whatever. So he becomes Dumbledore's. Yeah, literally, he becomes Dumbledore's brother at the end. That's him. Yes. And yeah. So I guess to sum up on the plot, really, I guess Newt, of course, has the line at the end. Hardly talks about Newt in this last 20 minutes. That's main character. Funny. Yeah. Again, so many fucking characters, man. But he doesn't do sides. Of course, that's what he said. Now he picks a side, so that's his arc. Again, that's a good arc to have. That's fine. Just like, why did people want him to be in this movie in the first place in terms of being in Paris? Because, again, he doesn't pick sides. He's not a fighting guy. But now he is on a side. He is going to fight. So it's a good arc. Anyway, so I guess that is one of the main consequences of this movie. And I guess Credence joins Grindelwald. But we don't
think of Glenn Greenwald.
I know. But we don't know how significant that is, really, because obviously we haven't seen the movies. It's probably significant because he's probably going to be a powerful wizard. But yeah, basically, in this movie, we just learn a ton of backstory from characters we didn't even know existed until this movie, and we didn't even know they were meant to be super important within the movie either. And we establish motivations, like, for example, Newt's, which is okay, I guess, but overall, like, nothing really happens. Again, there's so much shit in this film, man. But it's just like the motivation and backstory movie. That's what this movie is. You want to understand characters' motivations for the upcoming sequels. You want to understand their backstories for the upcoming sequels. And watch this movie.
Yeah, although you're assuming that this all won't be undone. Like, I would like it if in the next one it's like, it turns out that actually I was wrong. These people aren't related at all.
And it leans heavily on surprising family secrets that are just met basically with a meh from me at best. And yeah, it is the ultimate setup movie. And okay, that's okay. I guess you can have those things, but on the same alongside that, can you have a fun ride with a lot of emotion and a lot of, you know, enjoyment and a lot of fun, like you would perhaps expect to get in a fantasy action movie? No, you get dead babies instead. So yeah, this is basically my sum up, Michael. This is my conclusion that I've kind of walked into. So yeah, I'll just say this is truly terrible, and I can only imagine the next one's better. But I gave the first Fantastic Beasts a 4 out of 10. I think this one is going to get a 2.5 out of 10 from me.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, so for me, this film is very, very bad. I think, like, I genuinely don't know if I've ever been so bored during a kind of fantasy adventure film. Where it's just like, I mean, it's shocking that I saw this film today, and I'm already just thinking, like, what the hell happened, like, in it? I mean, like, the thing is, I literally know what happened, but it's almost like I can't bring myself to believe that's what happened. Like, you get to the end of this film, and you feel like you haven't watched the film, and it's almost like, when I watched this film, I was unable to even imagine how the actual, like, Harry Potter films were good. Like, it was kind of like, I found myself unable to imagine how a film could possibly be good when that sounds really bad. I was going to say, like, when a film this bad exists. That's not true, but, like, you kind of watch the film, you just think, like, how is it that, like, there are so many other films which are exciting and filled with adventure and all that kind of stuff, and you get this film which is just so void of anything. So yeah, and you know, we've pretty much said everything that needs to be said. Like, the main villain is just a rehash, but not as good. There's way too many characters and none of them are developed. And like, yeah, just the plot has no direction. Then the climax is just, it's just terrible. Like there's no, I don't know yet. To me, actually, so I think that I kind of feel like a high 1, to be honest. Like I really feel like this is
a high 1.
Yeah.
To be honest, you know what? I just had a look through because I was thinking 2.5 and 2. And while you were talking, I was just looking, wait, should I give it a 2? What are some of the other movies I gave it to? I was like, you know what? I mean, maybe it's just personal bias, but I'm like, there are some movies I gave a 2. I'm like, hey, is that might be better than this movie?
Well, see, I'm kind of thinking like I was thinking like about Rise of Skywalker, which I gave a 1 because it was just so bad. The thing about this is like, there's nothing like with this film. There isn't anything like offensively bad. Well, no, there is offensively bad, but there's nothing like with Rise of Skywalker. Like it was just like there was just so many moments that were just terrible.
I gave Rise of Skywalker a 2 out of 10. I'm just looking, and I think so. I'm gonna give this a 2 again because I think they're on the same level. So I think that's fair. 2 out of 10. I've moved it down 0.5%.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. We've been selecting and reflecting on the Crimes of Grindelwald, Fantastic Beasts, and yeah, let's see how if we ever review The Secrets of Dumbledore, we'll see that because who knows if there'll even be a 4th movie? There probably will. But anyway, who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael,
and thanks for watching. And join us next week for Con Air.
Goodbye. Con Air, yes. And then I know what we're doing after that too, yeah. We're on the Nicolas Cage-a-thon.
Yes.
Yes.